Okay, well, why don't we kick this off? So first and foremost, good afternoon and welcome to Energy Careers 2021. This panel is for high school students, teachers, parents. It is with regards to planning your path toward a career in energy. I am Julie Strumko with the Center for Energy Workforce Development, and I will be moderating today's session. We will be leaving 10 minutes at the end of the session for any questions from the audience. Please feel free, though, at any time to put your questions in the chat for the panelists, and what we will do is we will answer those at the end. Also, during the Q&A, if you're more comfortable, please feel free to raise your hand, come on camera, and ask the questions yourself. I highly encourage you to use this time to ask as many questions as you have. We have two individuals here that have lots of expertise in dealing with high school students and workforce development, so this really is your time. I also will be putting a link to the Center for Energy Workforce Development Energy Careers 2021 group. And you'll be able to go in there, you'll be able to network with other individuals, you'll be able to network with many of our company representatives are there, and also network with each other. So please use that link as well. So with that said, today's panel is really for those that might be interested in an energy career. And we really want to work with you to make that happen. So during this session, industry professionals, which is Alex and Annie, will offer guidance on what kind of coursework to pursue, what extracurriculars may serve you well, and how to start the professional pursuit. And whether that's working in engineering, whether it's in business, whether it's in skilled trades, or the myriad of other business and technical roles within the energy industry. With that said, I am going to turn it over to our panelists, and I would like to have them give a brief introduction. Annie, would you like to start?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today to speak. My name is Annie Paskovich. I've worked in the power generation industry now for just over 17 years in different combined cycle plant operations roles. The last 10 of those years, I've been with Florida Power and Light. That's a subsidiary of NextEra Energy, our parent company. I've worked at a number of our plants here in Florida, and in the role that I'm currently holding, we're actually building a brand new control center where we will remotely operate just over 20 gigawatts of power from our combined cycle fleet here in Florida. So really exciting stuff, lots of innovation and technology that's going into that. And in my free time, I'm also our diversity and inclusion rep for our power generation division. So I get very involved, of course, in recruiting and mentoring and things like that. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to talk with you.
Thank you, Annie. And Alex.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Washington, Workforce Development and Diversity Program Manager for Entergy. In my role, I lead our K through 12 and higher education partnerships across Mississippi, while also supporting my colleagues in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. I'm born and raised in Mississippi, three-time graduate of Mississippi State University with a PhD in Public Policy and Administration. I began my professional career in higher education, advising students and parents on how to navigate college life. So I spent time at two universities in Mississippi. In 2016, I was appointed to join the Mississippi Public Service Commission as Chief Policy Advisor to one of our utility regulators in Mississippi. I joined Intergy in 2019. I'm a proud millennial that's thankful to work for a company that provides me an opportunity to do meaningful work, whether it's in the high schools, educating high school students on energy and the paths that they can take while they're in high school, or working with our interns from HBCUs and other minority serving institutions across the states that I mentioned. One fun fact, I enjoy waking up at 4:45 weekday mornings to attend a cycling class at my gym.
For you, Alex, that's dedication. Wow. So let's just dive right in here, and I'm going to ask you the burning question that every student asks, and this is through over the course of time. So the question is, does math really matter? and what is its connection with the energy industry? So, Annie, would you like to start?
Sure, I can kick us off with that. You know, I always loved math and science. I have my bachelor's and my master's in engineering, so believe me, I've had my fair share of math classes over the years. I always wondered this thing as well. So when we think about math and engineering, math really is the cornerstone of engineering. It is involved in everything we do. All different types of engineering, whether it's chemical engineering, electrical, mechanical, you are going to have to take a certain level of math, because when we think about engineering, we really have to understand, the equipment or what we're working on. And when you're troubleshooting problems and you're trying to fix them, there's a lot of math that can be involved in that. So, it's really important to, you've got to, I'll say, be good at math, but there are ways too that can help you through those math classes, whether it be tutoring, mentoring, things like that. But it is, unfortunately, it is a very crucial part of engineering.
So Alex, I'm going to ask you the same question, and really from the perspective of, so Annie just addressed it from the engineering side, but what about it from more of the trade and craft side?
Yeah, I'll say that math is definitely a subject that you will be using after high school. I know, going through high school, you're sitting through all the classes every day and you're wondering, when will I ever use this again? But you will. So, we have pre-employment assessments that most craft employees have to pass in order to, be hired into their role. Pre-employment tests are similar to ACT, SAT, that you'll have to take for your college admissions applications. So, passing those pre-employment tests shows us that you are capable of, those ninth grade basic math equations, basic algebra, basic geometry. It shows that you can, problem solve. And once you're, working on a special project or working with the team, you'll be able to use some of those skills that you began to learn in high school to help us solve problems in the workplace. So, to become an engineer, any of the STEM majors, math is highly recommended, highly needed, but also for those craft positions, you will need math for those pre-employment assessments.
So it's important, pay attention, right? Being that, we are talking to high school students, and Alex, I'm going to start with you on this. What is the value of having that high school diploma or a certificate?
So, yeah, we call them stackable credentials. We want a high school student to graduate definitely with the diploma. Possibly that industry certificate. Many of the career pathways within y'all's high schools offer some type of industry certificate, whether it's a CDL license or the EIF that CEWD offers. We want those students to have those credentials, as well as those dual college credits where, when you're in high school, you can take those community college credits to go ahead and get those hours in. But that degree and certificate shows us that you can start something and you can complete it. You have a goal in mind of getting that degree or that certificate, and the steps that it takes to get it done.
And Annie, from your perspective.
So I think when I think about a lot of the recruiting that we do here for FPL or Nextera, there's a lot of different paths that we can take. A lot of people, when they think about, I need a 4-year engineering degree, that's not necessarily true depending on which path you want to take. So yes, there's plenty of career opportunities if you want to go to college and get a 4-year engineering degree. But there's also a lot of opportunities, and just as many as well, if you want to get a 2-year degree and associates and to become a technician as well, or to get into that craft field like Alex had mentioned. We have craft all over our maintenance departments at our plants, our operators, we have mechanics, electricians, instrument and control, and they don't need those 4-year engineering degrees. So I think it's important to understand, whatever your preference is, there's a great career path for you where you can make a lot of money either way you choose, and live a great life. But just understanding kind of what it takes. So depending on the role that you want to hold, just understanding what are the college requirements for that. Is it a certificate? Is it a trade school? Is it a 2-year associate's? Is it a 4-year bachelor's?
So if I'm understanding you right, so there is a position for anyone. So as long as and it's just dependent upon what they want to do. And so it could be a high school diploma, it could be a 2-year associate's degree, and then of course it can be a 4-year college degree.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to know as well that, and I've seen it all throughout FPL. I mean, I have someone even working on my team who had started 37 years ago at one of our plants as a janitor and has literally worked his way up through every level within operations. And now he's my operations leader who's going to be leading this new control center. So you are not tied into any one path once you get your foot in the door. There's so many opportunities within a lot of these companies to keep moving up and to keep growing and keep learning.
Yeah, one thing I want students to know is just because you have that 4-year degree from a college or university doesn't mean that you're going to be the highest earner. Some of our highest earners have that craft degree, that trade school or technical college degree or certificate. Students need to know that after high school, they have 5 options, in my opinion, once they graduate high school. You have the option of seeking a job with a company like Intergy or with Annie right after high school into a helper role or into a scheduler or admin role. That second option, you can enlist in the military. The training that you receive in the military prepares you for our workforce. That third option, a trade school, line worker program, welding programs, electrician programs. Those are, 6 to 18 to 12 month programs where you'll be, able to secure a great job, a great career within a year and a half after graduating high school. That fourth option is the 2-year program at a community college to attain an associate's degree. And then that last option is the 4-year degree option. But don't assume that because you went the 4-year route that you will be the highest earner, because there's great opportunities within trade where you can earn 6 figures before you're 25 years old.
Those are great opportunities. So Alex, I'd like to ask you this, and Annie, please chime in. What connections do you see that clubs and high school sports play towards people's real world experience, or how do those connections in high school and participating in those type of activities, how do they translate into, job experience or job ability to do your job better? Alex?
You're Alex. Oh.
I'm sorry. Was that for me?
That was for you. Do you want me to?
No. Extracurriculars definitely prepare students for the real world. Working, being in part of a club or a choir or, robotics team or sports team, you're working with the team and you're learning skills that prepares you to work with people, learn how to communicate with other people, learn how to see a project through completion while depending on others to do their part. So all of that plays a role into your leadership skills and your public speaking skills.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think getting involved in things like that, especially in high school, and then of course if you go on to college as well, we really see how much people can gain from that, whether if you're on the robotics team, from troubleshooting skills that you have, really the leadership, like Alex had mentioned, any presentations or project management. And really it's that collaboration and that teamwork piece, because when you begin your first job, whatever that may be, you really got to learn to really have good teamwork, collaboration skills, working with others. People are all different, right? So that can be some of the challenges sometimes in navigating that with the different personality types, things like that. So any kind of club, or like Alex said, choir or anything like that you can get involved in, it's going to be invaluable.
I think, Alex, when we were preparing the other day, one of the examples that you had given, and I thought was like, wow, that was out of the box, is that you joined an improv, which has probably got to be a very uncomfortable experience. So that's, you know, a great way of getting out of your shell and learning to do different things, which kind of ties right in. Can we talk about being comfortable with, or be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and how for high school students, that's something that's really important? Because in high school, I think one of the things you want to do is be very comfortable in your skin. And so you try to, you know, stick to your groups, stick to your cliques. So why is that important, to be comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yeah, so Julie, I'm glad you brought up that example. So the improv class, you know, it was definitely a part of my soft skill development. I thought it was just going to be an easy A class in college to help my GPA, but it taught me so much that I still use today. You know, being in class and not having real work to do, but actually being pushed out of your comfort zone, you know, rolling on the floor, you know, barking like a dog, whatever that assignment was that day to act out a scene or a scenario, that's what we had to do. And that showed me, you know, how to be vulnerable in front of other people. But, you know, being comfortable while being uncomfortable, I know that, you know, in the industries that Annie and I work in, we're often, you know, Annie may be the only woman sitting at a table sometime. I may be the only African American sitting at a table sometime, you know, but being comfortable enough in my abilities to, you know, still do the work, to be a leader, to look for similarities in other people, that provides a level of comfort to make sure we can work as a team.
And I think too, to segue on that, you know, when I look back at my growth as a leader over the last 17 years, you know, when I've been pushed outside of my comfort zone, that's actually when I've grown the most, taking on those challenges. And whether it's something simple as public speaking, right? That used to terrify me. I never had to do that early in my career, never did that in college. And then suddenly in the last couple years being in the corporate environment, I'm having to host meetings for 500 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish that earlier on that I had gotten comfortable in this environment, because, you know, it would have been a lot easier, I'll say, now later in my career. But it's also like in leadership roles, you know, we tend to want to pursue roles that we know everything about already. And that's just not how it is. I can't tell you how many times I've taken on a new role or a new position, or I'm leading a new team that I know nothing about. So being comfortable to know that the skills that you bring to the table, that you can still manage what's happening and lead the team and trust your team, you know, it's really, really important. And don't shy away from those opportunities that scare you. Those are the ones that you should take. And that's what you should be chasing after.
That's good advice. Not easy, but good.
Yeah, not easy.
Why do you think it's important that students pay attention to what's going on locally and in their communities? How does that help them develop as a person?
I think it's important just to kind of understand, of course, what's happening out there, but what's relevant, right? You know, between people, events, issues, you know, whether it's climate change, anything like that, because companies pay attention to that too. And, you know, it's really going to help you know what you're passionate about. Also see how the industry may be changing, what types of careers or new technologies are out there. So, you know, staying up on just current events in general, or anything that you're interested in, it's only going to help you keep developing and see which way is the future going, you know, whether we're talking about the energy industry or just anything in the media, things like that.
Great. And yeah, Alex?
I agree. Knowing what's going on in your community or state, it also helps you shape your passions and your desires. You know, it helps you determine whether or not you want to run for office one day, or become a scientist to help fight against future pandemics, or become a line worker to help us restore power to communities after a major hurricane. it enables you to, you know, consider the perspectives of other people and understand their needs and their experiences.
And it can also help you select, which companies you want to work for. So the values that you have, you want to make sure that they're aligned with whatever company and whatever culture they have, and what they stand for as well.
Yeah, and that actually really plays right into the next question, because I was going to ask, how important is it for your companies to pay attention what's going on outside the building? We've had some big movements over the last couple of years, and I think that people coming out of high school or people in high school are really actively involved in these, and so I think that they would want to go to work for a company that supports those types of things. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so at Entergy and other employers across the country all had to look at that this past 2 years with pandemic, with the social unrest that everybody experienced last year. Companies had to take time to recognize the experiences of the communities that we serve and the employees that were supporting the day-to-day work while experiencing what was going on in their communities. At Entergy, during the height of the unrest last year, our CEO and our other leaders came together and hosted a discussion on race and provided, discussions on their personal and professional experiences that, were centered around how they felt and the emotions that they felt, seeing the social unrest, seeing the things that were happening to individuals across our company. They knew that so many employees were working virtually, watching the news, seeing videos and images and comments on social media, and they wanted to take a stand and make sure that they knew that the company was listening. And others were struggling because they were reliving past experiences based on what was going on with others around them. We want to make sure that we provide that opportunity in that space for teams to know that they're being heard. Younger generations, Gen Zers, I know we're going to talk about that. They are more plugged into the community, into social media, into national news, I think more than what we realize. And I think, having those opportunities where they come in and bring some of that outside culture into the workplace will help us move forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think we had something similar here at NextEra, like you mentioned, Alex, in the height of everything that was happening last year, we had put together a racial equity team that could take a look at across the company, not only everything that we were doing internally and for our employees, but also in the communities in which we live and which organizations are we supporting, and, programs that make a difference and all of this, and also raising money for some of the Black businesses in our area. And so it really is so important. We had a lot of those hard discussions, not only as a company with our CEO, but also internally in our different business units. We hosted lunch and learns to also help educate everybody, right? It's so important to make sure that we're all on the same page, but that, the company knows that all of its employees are part of the local community, and anything that's happening out there is affecting us as well. And, when we come to work every day. So it's kind of nice. It's nice to see that, of course, in the culture from the different companies.
Thank you. Well, that was a good segue into Gen Z, Alex. I didn't know if you knew that was coming up, but so we hear a lot about Gen Z being much more environmentally aware. They're socially conscious. Diversity is their norm. They don't bat an eye, and they're true digital natives. So how does this, how do these things align with your company's values?
It aligns perfectly. We've been creating the space for Gen Zers to come in to add value with that creativity. We want them to help us reach our environmental goals. We want them to help us address social issues and be involved with improving the communities. We want our teams to welcome those younger generations and create those atmospheres of belonging. So it aligns perfectly with those characteristics.
And same here at NextEra. It's interesting because through our Diversity and Inclusion Council, we've had a lot of, I'll say, different lunch and learns on the generational differences and some of our unconscious biases that we may have. And how do we create the culture so that everybody can share their opinions and be heard and know that they're valued and we all bring something different to the table. But it's interesting to see that a lot of our, I'll say, Gen Z and the younger generation, they are so interested in, of course, the environment and renewable energy. You know, NextEra is the largest producer of wind and solar in the world, and there's just such a great pipeline and so many teams that they can join and support. And really, it's something that they're so passionate about as well. And also like artificial intelligence and big data. And I mean, I've got to be honest, I'm jealous of some of the technical capabilities of some of our Gen Z that are coming out of school and joining our team, and what they know already and what they really can bring and the value they add even just on day one.
Great, thank you. One of the things, and I'm sure that many of the high school students and teachers that are on this call would probably be very interested in learning more about, is how do you handle your process for recruiting and internships? And, you know, we know those things are important, but how do you handle that?
So here at NextEra, we have, of course, a recruiting department. I support it from the power generation perspective from my division, and I know that this time of year, we are out at all of those career fairs, whether they're in person taking place, or I know a lot have been virtual. And we really secure all of our interns for next summer by the end of November. So it happens really fast. So knowing when those different career fairs and workshops are taking place, you know, and we select a whole bunch of different schools to make sure that we can find that top diverse talent to bring in. But it's really, really important to know that that takes place early. So, you know, if you are in college and you're a freshman and you're just starting out, now's the time to be looking for those internships for those companies that you want to work for, and go to those career fairs. And also to know as well, like, what do you need on your resume? What kind of skills and what kind of clubs, like we talked about before, what type of GPA are companies looking for? It's things like that on how you can really sell yourself to the companies that are out there recruiting.
Yeah, we're doing the same. And to the high school teachers that are on here, invite your local utilities into the classroom. You know, we want to start there with recruiting interns. We want to introduce those 5 pathways that I mentioned before to your students, so they'll know how to remain in one of our pipelines to, you know, employment or internship. But with us, once you're a college student, once you finish your freshman year in college, you're eligible for an internship. So like Annie said, we're attending the career fairs and info sessions on various college campuses across the Southeast. But once we bring you in after your freshman year, you have an opportunity to intern with us for 3 summers before you graduate college, depending on your performance. So if you perform well that first summer, we'll invite you back that next summer, and so on. These are paid internship opportunities, so keep that in mind. Our interns make a comfortable, competitive, you know, salary during the summer months where they're able to live and work comfortably. We also provide stipends for relocation. So if you're at a school that's not near one of the facilities that we have selected you to intern at, we will give students a stipend to relocate for the summer. But once we have you in our pipeline, we really like to keep you in it. So whether it's one of our high school energy academies in Mississippi or at one of our college or university partners, once we bring you into our system, our goal is to hire you on as a full-time employee.
And it's great too, because when you intern year over year with the same company, you get to join different teams and really get that exposure of what are some of the different elements to power generation or power delivery and things like that. So you get even more exposure, so you really know what you want. We have a different program in our power generation division in FPL as well, that those interns that intern with us summer over summer, depending on performance, of course, but we interview them, the rising seniors, after they finish their summer internship for our rotational engineering program. So if you get hired on full time into that program, you can also get to work. It's an 18-month rotation where you get to work at our combined cycle facility, our wind facility, our solar fleet, the support teams here, which is a great way to get exposure earlier in your career to different opportunities, to really see what are you passionate about and where do you want to work.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's for college students, those internships. You do not currently offer internships to high school students, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
People generally ask that question. Okay. So in moving back to high school students for a moment, what are some of, we mentioned sports, we mentioned clubs, but what are some of the other things that students really can do to build that resume? I think, a lot of times people want to have that 4.0 or take AP classes and have a 4.5 GPA. But that's not necessarily always the best candidates. Or what are some of the other things that you as recruiters or that you have seen that you like to see on high school students' resumes?
I think some of it too. So in PGD here, we have a community outreach program. Ours is called Empower Girls, but we're also working on another grassroots program where we actually host mini STEM camps over the summer, where we'll host them at our power plants or here in our corporate office or at a local college, where we bring middle school and high school students in and we get to educate them all about how electricity is made, the different careers that you can have. We do different STEM activities. So I think for looking for things like that are taking place in your communities, whether they're workshops, I've seen we have some different STEM fairs that we attend here in FPL as well, so that you can go learn more about that. I think that's really important, just seeing there's so many things out there now, whether they're online or in person or whether they're workshops or camps. There's so much to get involved in and so many ways to keep learning. I think that's the important thing is keep finding ways to just keep learning and seeing what else is out there.
Yeah, all of that, STEM camps, robotics clubs, all of that. But to our students that are on here today, you're obviously already student leaders by taking the time to participate in this Careers in Energy Week session. So that's something right there that you can put on your resume, that you've taken time to hear from industry leaders about how to prepare for a future career in energy. So, highlight that. But just take a look at everything that you all are doing. Whether it's a fundraiser within a student club that you're in, whether you're planning out a homecoming event for your school, you're balancing your schoolwork, your extracurricular, and your life and family, and that's all project management. So those are things that you can go ahead and highlight on your resume, because that's you're balancing that work and that life, and you can go ahead and put that, so we can see it.
So what I'd like to do now is I would like to open it up for questions and answers. Please feel free to either put it in the chat or raise your hand. And I know that Alex and Annie would be more than happy to answer those. Now's your time, students. Well, until a question comes in, I'm going to ask you both a question, because this is always really interesting in my perspective. But what excites you most about the future of the energy industry?
I think for me, it's really all about the technology. Even when I look at our journey here in FPL, I mean, back when our company started, we literally made ice. And then when you look at how things have changed over the years, the different technologies that we've had, even just within our fossil plants, if you will, how they've changed from the 1920s all the way up until today, where we have the most efficient fleet and we burn so much less emissions. And now how large our renewable fleet has gone, Now we're into battery storage. Now we're going to be piloting green hydrogen. I mean, it really is just amazing, but it's really all about the different technology, and also how can we continue to be greener. So it just amazes me to kind of see the different things that we've gotten involved in and how just the energy industry is changing and continues to reshape.
Definitely the technologies, but I'm also excited to see so many utility companies partner with like CEWD, the American Association of Blacks in Energy, different minorities serving colleges and universities like HBCUs, Hispanic serving colleges, women's colleges. It's changing the culture and the representation within the energy industry. And that traditionally hasn't been there. So it's providing more opportunities for minorities and women that will change the economic opportunities for families. To the students, utilities, energy companies are some of the highest paid employers. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that brings up a good point, and I'd love to have you address this. As many people know, during the pandemic, whether it was their parents, relatives, friends, family, a lot of people lost jobs. That did not seem to be the case in the energy industry.
Mm-hmm.
Could you both talk to that?
Yeah, I can. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
No, I know you can speak on it from the power generation side, but from an HR side, we had men and women working every day through the pandemic. People were home and they were using electricity. Hospitals were over capacity. They were needing electricity. So we needed our men and women to be healthy and safe while still working through the pandemic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can say, I know here at NextEra, we didn't have to lay anyone off. Everybody kept their jobs and was very gainfully employed throughout the pandemic. And, especially, at the plants, right? We've got to keep the plants running. We've got to keep the power being made. And, we focused a lot on the health and safety of our teammates here, because we know that everybody in the community is relying on us to be able to show up to work to make that happen. So, there's a lot of pride that comes with it, but definitely, we're always going to need electricity in the future. So it's a great industry to obviously be in.
Yeah, I would say people that work for the energy industry or work in the energy industry are first responders. Because the matter of fact is the power needs to stay on, and people can't, not do their jobs to make that happen. So, for young people who are interested in giving back and really being a part of the community, the energy industry is the place to be for them. So we're almost at the end of our time, but lastly, what are a few words of advice that you'd like to leave with the audience today?
I think one thing that I think about back when I was even in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I really liked math and science, and I figured maybe some type of engineering would be great, but don't be afraid that you don't know right now. Even when I began college, I still didn't know until really a few years in of, this is really what I want to do. Like, just know that it's okay that if you don't know right now, it's great that you're exploring your options, but don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. And really, even when you graduate college and you have that degree, or you've gone to that trade school or that technical school, that shows that you're able to learn. It doesn't mean that you're really stuck in that one career path. I mean, I see so many people come into FPL and NextEra that have such various and different backgrounds, and I'm like, wow, how did that lead you here? But it's crazy because your path can change, and and as long as you take that initiative and you keep learning, you can do anything with it. So don't ever feel like just because you get this one degree or this one certificate that's the only thing you can do, because it's not the case.
Yeah, my words of wisdom is short. Have fun, but work hard. Think about my improv example from that class that I enrolled in college. Seek out those opportunities that really, take you out of your comfort zone, but work hard, have fun, And if you work hard and you really, focus in on what you want to do and work hard towards it, things will, happen for you once you finish your education. People will notice those strengths and those experiences that you've had. But have fun with it.
I think those are some great words. And with that, I think we'll end today. Thank you so much, Alex and Annie, for participating. Thank you, audience. And I would like to remind everybody to go back to the career fair. Please stop by the different booths, look at the job boards, talk to people about internships, talk to them about summer programs. And we just want to say a major thank you for attending today. And again, welcome and goodbye to Energy Careers 2021. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.